The massive auction hall on Kepler Station was packed with creatures from every corner of the galaxy. The air was thick and heavy, filled with strange smells that made Jessica Miller's nose burn. She stood at the back of the crowd, her mechanic's uniform still dirty from fixing engines all morning. At 19 years old, she was just another human worker trying to survive on this alien space station. All around her, alien buyers examined the war mounts up for sale. These weren't ordinary animals, they were living weapons. A snake-like creature with razor scales sold for 3 million credits. A beast covered in living armor went for 5 million. Jessica could only dream of having that kind of money. She had saved every credit from 2 years of work, and it still only added up to enough for a ticket back to Earth. But then she saw something that made her stop breathing. In the corner of the hall, away from the expensive creatures, stood a horse. Not some genetically modified super beast, but an actual Earth horse. His brown coat was dull and patchy. She could count his ribs from across the room. Old wounds covered his legs, and one ear was torn halfway off. He stood perfectly still, head hanging low, while aliens poked at him with sticks and laughed. "Now for something amusing," the auctioneer announced. He was a huge lizard-like alien whose voice boomed across the hall. This pathetic animal was found on an abandoned human ship. It has no weapons, no armor, no special abilities. It can barely stand. Who wants to start the bidding at 50 credits? The crowd burst into laughter. 50 credits was nothing. Jessica spent more than that on food each week. "Maybe I'll buy it for target practice," shouted a four-armed alien merchant. "My pets eat more than that for breakfast," called another. Jessica pushed through the crowd, her hands shaking. Something about the horse pulled at her heart. Maybe it was because he was from Earth like her. Maybe it was the way he stood there, taking all the insults without flinching. Or maybe it was his eyes. Even from across the room, she could see they weren't the eyes of a broken animal. They were watching, waiting, thinking. "I'll take him," Jessica called out. 50 credits. Every single alien in the hall turned to stare at her. The silence was so complete she could hear her own heartbeat. "Did the little human just bid on that dying animal?" someone whispered. "She must be insane," another replied. The auctioneer's scales turned purple, which Jessica knew meant he was amused. "Are you certain, small human? This creature will probably die within days. It can barely walk." Jessica walked to the payment counter and placed her credit chip down. It held everything she had saved. Her ticket home. Her safety net. Her entire future. 50 credits, she repeated, her voice steady even though her insides were churning. The auctioneer shrugged. "Sold. To the foolish human girl." The laughter followed Jessica as she walked to the pen. Up close, the horse looked even worse. His mane was tangled and matted. Scars crisscrossed his entire body. But when she reached for the rope around his neck, something amazing happened. He lifted his head slightly and looked straight at her. Not with fear or anger, but with a kind of quiet dignity. "Hey there, boy," Jessica said softly. The horse took a small step toward her, and she noticed he was favoring his left front leg. "Let's get you out of here." As she led him through the station, aliens pressed against the walls to avoid them. Some laughed. Others shook their heads in pity. She heard them making bets, 3 days until the horse died, a week at most. One particularly cruel alien offered to dispose of the body for free when it happened. Jessica had claimed an old cargo bay in the station's lower levels weeks ago, hoping to use it as a workshop. Now it would become a stable. She spread synthetic hay on the floor and filled a bucket with water. The horse drank slowly, carefully, like he was remembering how. She spent her last few credits on nutrition cubes from the station market, mixing them with synthetic grass from the hydroponics lab. The horse sniffed the strange mixture suspiciously before taking a small bite. Then another. As he ate, Jessica really looked at him for the first time. Despite everything, his legs were straight and strong. His chest was deep, built for running. And his eyes, they followed her every movement with an intelligence that gave her goosebumps. "You're not just any horse, are you?" she whispered. "You've seen things. Been through things." The horse finished eating and moved closer to her. When she sat down in the hay, exhausted from the day, he lowered himself beside her. She could feel his warmth, hear his breathing slowly getting stronger. "I'm going to call you Thunder," she said, running her hand along his scarred neck. "Because when we're done healing, when you're strong again, everyone in this galaxy is going to hear us coming. They laughed at us today. But we'll show them what Earth creatures can do when we don't give up." Thunder turned his head and gently nudged her shoulder, as if he understood every word. 3 weeks had passed since Jessica brought Thunder to the abandoned cargo bay. The change in him was incredible. His dull brown coat now shone like polished wood. The bones no longer showed through his skin, and his eyes were bright and alert. Every morning when Jessica arrived before her mechanic shift, Thunder would already be standing at the makeshift gate waiting for her. But something strange was happening. Something that made Jessica's skin tingle with excitement and a little fear. It started small. One day, a Valerian trader walked past their bay speaking in his native clicking language. Thunder's ears immediately turned toward the sound, and he stepped back from the door, exactly what the alien had been saying to his companion about keeping distance from the dirty earth animal. Then it happened again. A Saurid guard hissed an order in his language for Jessica to move Thunder to a different area. Before she could even figure out what was being said, Thunder was already walking toward the corner the guard had indicated. "You understand them, don't you?" Jessica whispered one evening, staring into Thunder's dark eyes. "How is that possible?" Thunder just nudged her shoulder gently, like he always did when she was worried. The most unsettling thing was how Thunder seemed to know what she was thinking. When she thought about bringing him water, he'd already be moving toward the bucket. When she worried about money for food, he'd eat less, even though she never said anything out loud. It was like he could read her mind. Late one night, Jessica snuck into the station's tech storage. Her mechanic clearance got her past the first door, but she had to crawl through ventilation shafts to reach the military equipment. Her heart hammered as she grabbed a neural interface unit, the kind they used to connect riders with those expensive war mounts. It was worth more than she'd make in 10 years. Back in the cargo bay, Jessica spent hours modifying the device. She'd fixed enough equipment to understand the basics, but this was different. She was trying to connect a machine built for alien biology to work between two Earth creatures. "This might hurt," she warned Thunder, placing the modified sensor pad on his forehead and another on her own. "If you want to stop, just pull away." She activated the connection. The world exploded. Jessica felt herself slam backward, her vision going white. Every nerve in her body fired at once. She couldn't tell where she ended and Thunder began. Fear his and hers mixed together. Pain shooting through both their minds. Then, darkness. Jessica woke up on the hay with Thunder's nose pressed against her cheek. How long had they been unconscious? Hours? Minutes? But something was different. She could feel Thunder's concern for her, not just see it in his eyes. It was like a warm pressure in her chest that wasn't her own emotion. She thought about standing up, and immediately felt Thunder's intention to help her. When she reached for the wall, she knew he would step closer to support her before he actually moved. "We're connected," she breathed. "I can feel what you feel." Over the next few days they learned to use this new bond. Jessica discovered Thunder wasn't just smart, he was brilliant. Through their connection, she felt memories that weren't quite images but more like impressions. A laboratory. Scientists in white coats. Other horses being tested. Thunder had been part of something bigger, some kind of military experiment before his ship was lost. Then the trouble started. "You cannot keep livestock in a cargo bay," the Crantor security chief bellowed. He was 9 feet tall, covered in armor-like skin with 4 arms that could crush steel. "This is a violation of Station Code 7 Alpha. Remove the animal immediately or it will be destroyed." Behind him, 6 security officers blocked the exit. Each carried shock weapons designed to take down the most dangerous creatures. Jessica's mind raced. She couldn't lose Thunder. Not now. Through their bond, she felt Thunder's response, not fear but readiness. He was asking her to trust him. Without a word, Jessica grabbed Thunder's mane and swung onto his back. She'd never ridden without a saddle before, but through their neural connection, she felt his muscles, his balance, as if they were her own. "Stop them!" the security chief roared. Thunder exploded into motion. But not toward the blocked exit. Instead, he spun and galloped straight at the cargo bay's back wall, where a small maintenance tunnel opened near the ceiling, 8 feet off the ground. Jessica felt Thunder's plan a split second before he acted. She leaned forward, making herself small as Thunder gathered his legs and jumped. It was impossible. No normal horse could make that leap. But Thunder wasn't normal anymore. They sailed through the air, Jessica flat against his neck, and dove through the narrow tunnel. Behind them, the security chief's war drone, a flying robot worth 500,000 credits, smashed into the tunnel walls, too bulky to follow. Thunder galloped through passages no other mount could navigate. When gravity shifted between sections, he adjusted instantly. Jessica didn't have to guide him. Through their bond, they thought as one creature. Left here, down there, jump now, duck here. They burst out of a maintenance hatch into the main plaza, galloping straight through a crowd of stunned aliens. Someone was recording with their device. By the time Thunder and Jessica disappeared into the lower levels, The video was already spreading across the station's network. Within an hour, everyone was watching the worthless Earth horse outrun and outmaneuver the station's best security forces. The betting pools that had wagered on Thunder's death suddenly shifted. Now they were betting on something else entirely. Just how special was this Earth horse? In their hidden bay, Jessica slid off Thunder's back, her legs shaking with exhaustion and exhilaration. Through their bond, she felt his pride and joy matching her own. "We showed them, didn't we?" she laughed, and Thunder tossed his head, nickering softly. The rejects had just become the most interesting pair on Kepler Station. The video of Thunder outrunning station security had spread to every screen in the galaxy. It finally reached Commander Zack Theta aboard his warship, and the massive warrior was not amused. The commander stood 12 feet tall, with skin like black stone and eyes that glowed red. His war mount, a bioengineered monster called a Hellclaw, had never lost a fight. It had killed 12 opponents in the arena, tearing them apart while millions watched. "This pathetic Earth creature insults all true warriors," Zack Theta growled, watching Thunder's escape for the 10th time. "I will crush it publicly and show the galaxy that humans and their pets don't belong among real fighters." He sent a message that appeared on every screen on Kepler Station. The image showed Zack Theta sitting atop his Hellclaw, a nightmare creature with 6 legs, razor claws, and teeth like swords. The beast's hide could deflect laser fire, and acid dripped from its jaws. "I challenged the human girl and her dying horse to enter the Dominion Championships." His voice boomed through the speakers. "Let us see how long your primitive animal lasts against a real war mount. Unless, of course, you're too afraid to face us." Jessica stood in the plaza, watching the message on the giant screen above. Around her, hundreds of beings from different worlds had stopped to watch. She felt their eyes on her, some mocking, some pitying. Through their neural bond, she felt Thunder's response. He wasn't afraid. He was angry. "We accept," Jessica said loudly, and the crowd gasped. "The entry fee is 50,000 credits, someone called out. "That's more than most beings make in 5 years. Jessica's heart sank. She had nothing. She'd spent everything on Thunder. Then something amazing happened. Old Robert, the human janitor who cleaned the lower decks, stepped forward. He placed a credit chip in Jessica's hand. 30 credits, he said. "It's not much, but Thunder represents all of us." Next came Lisa, a cook from the human quarters. Then David, a cargo loader. One by one, humans began stepping forward. Not just a few, every single human on the station. The cleaning staff, the mechanics, the shopkeepers. Even Ambassador Johnson, in his expensive suit, pushed through the crowd and handed over his personal credit chip. "Thunder isn't just your horse anymore," the ambassador said. "He's proof that Earth's children can stand among the stars. Win or lose, you're fighting for all of us." By evening they had 50,000 credits. Some humans had given their food money. Others had sold personal belongings. Jessica stood in Thunder's bay, overwhelmed by the pile of credit chips. "We can't let them down," she whispered to Thunder. He pressed his nose against her chest, and through their bond, she felt his determination. The qualifying trial started 3 days later. The arena was massive, with floating platforms, shifting gravity fields, and obstacles that changed every round. Jessica watched the other competitors' war mounts with built-in weapons, energy shields, and armor plating. One creature could turn invisible. Another shot lightning from its horns. Thunder had none of these things. He was just a horse with scars and a big heart. The first trial was speed and agility. While other mounts blasted through obstacles, Thunder did something no one expected. He stopped and studied the course. Through their bond, Jessica understood his plan. They waited until another mount smashed through the barriers, then followed through the openings. Why waste energy when someone else could do the work? The second trial was combat against training robots. Thunder couldn't shoot lasers or breathe fire. But when a robot charged at them, Thunder grabbed a metal pole in his teeth and swung it like a club. The judges had never seen anything like it. A mount using tools? Impossible. But there was no rule against it. The problem-solving trial was where Thunder truly shocked everyone. The challenge was to retrieve an object from a sealed container while under attack. Other mounts tried to smash through with brute force. Thunder and Jessica had a different idea. Thunder laid down and played dead. The attacking robots, programmed to stop when an opponent was defeated, powered down. Jessica quickly grabbed the object while the judges stared in confusion. "That's cheating." Commander Zack Theta roared from the viewing platform. "Show us the rule that says he can't play dead," Jessica shot back. "Or is your Hellclaw too stupid to think of it?" The crowd loved it. Here was this young human and her scarred horse, outsmarting creatures worth millions of credits. When the scores were posted, Thunder and Jessica were in last place, but they had qualified. Barely. The judges gave them just enough points to enter the main championship. It was clear they didn't want them there, but they couldn't deny what everyone had seen. Thunder might not be the strongest or fastest, but he and Jessica thought in ways no one could predict. That night, Jessica noticed strangers watching their bay. Some wore military uniforms from different worlds. They spoke quietly into communication devices, taking notes on everything Thunder did. "They're studying us," Jessica said, brushing Thunder's coat. "They know we're different. We don't fight like they expect." Thunder nickered softly. Through their bond, Jessica felt his confidence. They might be last place, but they were just getting started. A young human boy ran up to their bay holding a drawing. It showed Thunder with wings flying above the stars. "My whole family is watching from Earth Colony 7, he said breathlessly. "Thunder is on our wall now, next to the pictures of home." Jessica looked at the drawing, then at Thunder. They weren't just fighting for themselves anymore. They were fighting for every human who had been told they weren't good enough for the galaxy. They were fighting for everyone who had ever been laughed at, rejected, or dismissed. "Tomorrow we show them what Earth horses are made of," Jessica said. Thunder stamped his hoof once, and through their bond she felt his message clear as day. They had no idea what was coming. Championship Day arrived with all the drama of a galaxy-wide event. Millions of beings across hundreds of worlds tuned in to watch. The arena was packed with 40,000 spectators, their alien voices creating a roar that shook the metal walls. Jessica stood with Thunder at the competitor's entrance, her hand on his neck, feeling his heartbeat through their connection. "All competitors must pass through security scanning," a robotic voice announced. One by one, the war mounts walked through the massive scanner. The machine analyzed everything: biological weapons, hidden armor, illegal modifications. When Thunder's turn came, Jessica held her breath. The scanner hummed, then suddenly alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed everywhere. Security guards rushed forward with weapons drawn. "What is the meaning of this?" the head judge demanded, his tentacles writhing with anger. The scan results appeared on every screen in the arena. Jessica's mouth fell open. There, in Thunder's bloodstream, were millions of tiny machines, nanobots, dormant but present. The display showed they were military-grade, connected somehow to the neural interface Jessica had modified. "The horse has illegal technology," Commander Zach Theta shouted from his platform. "Disqualify them." But the head judge was studying the data carefully. "These nanobots are not additions," he announced slowly. "They are part of the creature's original biology. The scan shows they've been dormant since before the auction. The horse was sold as is, with no disclosure of its modifications. According to Regulation 7.4, any biological features present at the time of legal sale are permitted." The crowd erupted. Some booed, others cheered. Jessica felt dizzy. Thunder had been experimented on by Earth's military before his ship was lost. He wasn't just a horse, he was something more. "Furthermore," the judge continued, "the nanobots only activate under extreme stress and when connected to the neural interface. They provide rapid healing and temporary strength boosts, but at great cost to the host's energy. This is not an advantage, it's a survival mechanism." The first trial began an hour later. The zero-gravity course was a nightmare: floating obstacles, spinning barriers, no up or down. Most creatures that evolved on planets couldn't handle the complete loss of gravity. Jessica watched a six-legged razor beast immediately start spinning out of control, its rider vomiting inside his helmet. But Thunder was different. The moment gravity disappeared, something clicked in his brain. Earth horses had evolved from creatures that ran on plains, jumped over obstacles, and had to judge distances perfectly to survive. Their inner ear was a masterpiece of evolution. In zero gravity, while other mounts panicked, Thunder simply adjusted. Jessica and Thunder moved through the course like dancers. When they needed to change direction, Thunder kicked off floating platforms with perfect precision. When they needed to stop, he grabbed onto bars with his teeth. They didn't fight the zero gravity, they used it. By the time they finished, they had the third best time. The crowd was stunned silent. "Impossible," someone whispered. "That primitive beast just beat a 1,000,000-credit war mount." The second trial was pure combat. The arena filled with automated defense systems, laser turrets that could cut through steel, plasma mines that exploded on contact, drone swarms that attacked from every angle. Most riders relied on their mounts' armor and shields. Thunder had neither. The buzzer sounded. Immediately, two laser turrets locked onto them. Jessica felt Thunder's muscles bunch beneath her. Through their neural link, she saw what he saw: the angle of the turrets, the charge time before firing. They moved as one mind and two bodies. The lasers fired. Thunder was already gone, but not unharmed. A beam caught his shoulder, burning through flesh. Jessica cried out, feeling his pain through their connection. Then something incredible happened. The wound began closing before her eyes. The nanobots, activated by the stress in their neural link, were rebuilding the damaged tissue in real time. A plasma mine detonated to their left. Shrapnel tore into Thunder's side. Again, the nanobots responded, pulling the metal fragments out and sealing the wounds in seconds. But Jessica could feel the cost through their bond. Each healing drained Thunder's energy reserves. He couldn't keep this up forever. A drone swarm descended on them. 20 flying robots with cutting lasers. Thunder couldn't dodge them all. Jessica made a desperate decision. She stood up on Thunder's back, making herself a target. The drones switched focus to her, the more vulnerable target. But Thunder felt her plan through their link before she even completed the thought. As the drones fired at where Jessica had been, Thunder bucked, throwing her forward while simultaneously catching her with his neck, placing her back in riding position. The lasers passed through empty air. They lasted 18 minutes. Longer than 8 other competitors. When they finally left the arena, Thunder's legs were shaking from exhaustion, but they were alive. That night, the human quarters of the station erupted in celebration. But it was nothing compared to what was happening on Earth and its colonies. Videos of Thunder's performance played on every screen. Children drew horses on their bedroom walls, on their school books, on anything they could find. In the mining colonies of Mars, workers painted Thunder Rising on their helmets. On Earth, people who had never seen a real horse began learning about humanity's ancient partnership with these creatures. An old woman on Colony 7 was interviewed on the Galactic News. "That horse represents us," she said, tears in her eyes. "We don't have the fancy technology or the engineered biology. But we have something else, the will to keep going when everyone counts us out." Back in the arena, Jessica sat with Thunder in their assigned stall. She could feel his exhaustion through their bond, but also his pride. They had shown the galaxy that Earth's children could compete. Tomorrow would be the final trial, the battle royale where all remaining competitors fought at once. Commander Zack Theta's Hellclaw would be there, waiting for them. "Rest now," Jessica whispered, leaning against Thunder's warm side. "Tomorrow we finish this." Thunder's eyes closed, but through their connection she felt his spirit burning bright. They were still the underdogs. They were still the rejects. But now they were something else too. They were hope. The final trial was everything Jessica had feared and more. 20 Mount Rider pairs entered the massive arena, but only one would leave as champion. The arena itself was a nightmare, sections where gravity reversed without warning, pockets of poisonous gas, platforms that crumbled when touched, temperatures that swung from freezing to burning in seconds. Jessica sat on Thunder's back at the starting gate, watching the other competitors. Commander Zack Theta's Hellclaw scraped its claws against the metal floor, leaving deep gouges. A crystalline beast called a shard spider tested its web-shooting abilities. Every single mount wore armor. Every rider carried weapons. Jessica had only Thunder, and Thunder had only her. The horn sounded. Chaos erupted instantly. The strongest competitors immediately turned toward Thunder and Jessica. They had formed an alliance before the match. Eliminate the weak Earth pair first, then fight among themselves. 5 war mounts charged at them from different directions. Jessica felt Thunder's muscles tense, but he didn't run. Instead, something extraordinary happened. Thunder released a deep, rumbling sound from his chest, not quite a neigh, not quite a growl. It was a frequency so low that most beings couldn't hear it, but every mount in the arena felt it. The charging beast slowed, confused. Through the subsonic vibrations, Thunder was transmitting something they had never experienced, the pure emotion of his bond with Jessica. These war mounts had been bred for violence, programmed to kill, enhanced to destroy. But they had never felt trust like this. They had never felt love between rider and mount. The shard spider stopped completely, its 8 eyes focused on Thunder. Its rider screamed commands, but the creature seemed mesmerized. A 4-winged Terrax actually took a step backward, as if seeing something divine. "What are you doing to them?" the Terrax rider shouted. But Commander Zack Theta wasn't affected by emotion. His Hellclaw had been programmed to feel nothing but rage. It barreled through the confused mounts, heading straight for Thunder. Acid dripped from its fangs. Its 6 legs moved like pistons, each step shaking the ground. This was it. The moment everyone had been waiting for. The primitive Earth horse versus the ultimate killing machine. Jessica did something that made 40,000 spectators gasp at once. she jumped off Thunder's back. In the entire history of the Dominion Championships, no rider had ever voluntarily dismounted during combat. It was suicide. But Jessica and Thunder had something no other pair possessed: perfect synchronization through their neural link. The Hellclaw lunged at Thunder, expecting Jessica to be on his back. Instead, Thunder dropped and rolled while Jessica sprinted to the side. The massive predator's claws found only air. Before it could recover, Thunder's hooves struck its back legs while Jessica grabbed a broken armor plate from a fallen competitor and jammed it into the beast's knee joint. Zack Theta roared in fury. "Fight with honor." "We are," Jessica shouted back. "This is how humans and horses have fought together for thousands of years." The Hellclaw spun, trying to track both opponents at once, but its programming couldn't handle this. It was designed to fight single targets, either the mount or the rider. Not both moving independently yet perfectly coordinated. Thunder kicked sand into the creature's eyes. Jessica slid underneath its belly, striking at weak points. When the Hellclaw turned toward Jessica, Thunder bit its tail. When it turned toward Thunder, Jessica threw debris at its head. They moved like water, like wind, like two parts of the same soul. Around them, the battle raged on, but more and more competitors stopped to watch. They had never seen anything like this. The horse and girl weren't just partners, they were something new, something evolution had spent thousands of years perfecting. The Hellclaw, frustrated and confused, made a critical error. It reared up on its back legs, preparing to bring all its weight down on Thunder. But this exposed its belly, the one place its armor was weakest. Thunder and Jessica moved together. Thunder charged forward while Jessica leaped onto his back mid-gallop. At the perfect moment, Thunder planted his hooves and launched Jessica upward with all his strength. She flew through the air, grabbing one of the arena's hanging cables, and swung directly at the Hellclaw's exposed belly. Her boot struck the soft spot with all her momentum. The monster toppled backward, crashing into the ground with Zack Theta trapped beneath it. The arena fell silent. The Hellclaw struggled to rise but couldn't. Its own weight and armor had become its prison. Zack Theta released the surrender signal, his red eyes wide with disbelief. Other competitors were still fighting, but Thunder and Jessica had already won something greater. Around the arena, beings from 100 worlds began to stomp their feet, tentacles, or whatever they had. It started with the humans but spread like wildfire. Even some of the eliminated competitors joined in. When the final horn sounded, only Thunder and Jessica remained standing in the center. She slid off his back and wrapped her arms around his neck. Through their bond, she felt his exhaustion but also his incredible joy. They had done it. The rejects, the laughingstock, the 50-credit horse no one wanted, they were champions. The prize ceremony was broadcast to every human colony. Children cried with joy. Adults who had never shown emotion openly wept. The prize money, 5 million credits, was enough to change everything. But Jessica didn't keep it for herself. She used it to build something that would last forever. The Soul System Riding Academy, where humans and horses would train together using the neural bonding technique she had discovered. Within 6 months, applications came from across the galaxy. Even species that had mocked Earth wanted to learn the secret of this partnership. Thunder became a legend, but more importantly, he became a father. His offspring, bred with other Earth horses and enhanced with controlled nanobot technology, became the most sought-after mounts in 3 sectors. Not because they were the strongest or had the best weapons, but because they could truly bond with their riders. Jessica rose through the ranks faster than any human before her. By age 25, she became Earth's youngest admiral, leading the first human horse cavalry unit in space. But she never forgot where it started. Today, if you visit Kepler Station, you'll see a statue in the main plaza. It shows a scarred horse with a young woman on his back, both looking up at the stars. The inscription reads, "Thunder and Jessica, they bought hope for 50 credits." And in the auction halls, where beings still come to buy and sell, there's a new saying that everyone knows: never underestimate the rejected ones. They might just change the galaxy. Thunder lived to be 40 years old, ancient for a horse. When he finally passed, peacefully in his sleep, every human colony observed a moment of silence. His legacy lived on in his children, in the academy, and in the hearts of every human who had been told they weren't good enough. Because Thunder and Jessica proved that sometimes, the greatest strength doesn't come from weapons or armor or genetic engineering. Sometimes it comes from trust, from partnership, and from refusing to give up when the entire universe is laughing at you. The 50-credit horse had transformed the galaxy's understanding of what it meant to be strong.